Brilliant.
Beverly
Okay.
Sisters.
Can you tell us a bit about the winner and why you chose them, please?
Yes, I don't know anything about the winner except that we know it's a female winner. I liked it because the idea of Animal Olympics is followed through with the idea of several different animals doing different events. And part of me, when I'm looking at these, is thinking of illustrations and thinking of the variety that can be taken advantage of in the illustrations. And it also has a rather nice ending, which is a little twist ending. It's a very logical ending, but I don't think it's an obvious ending. And I enjoyed that because you had a situation where the story's going along, you build, and you think, you know, are they going to be able to follow this through? And then, whoomph, yes, it does follow it through, and it's nice. And I think it fulfills the brief. I mean, the brief was very simple: do something about Animal Olympics. There's a slight fantasy element about it too, because the main character is not a real animal, and I rather like that. Maybe it should have been eliminated for that reason.
No, I quite like that.
No, I like that. And there are some nice little ideas that one animal, which is a pelican, is not just a pelican, but it's a tall pelican. And I think that, I don't know why I find that funny, but I do, because it would have been very easy to just say suddenly a pelican came along. But no, it's a tall pelican, which distinguishes it from a short pelican or a plump pelican. That would be quite good. Plump, a bit of alliteration. No, I enjoyed this one, and I think that they've thought it through, and the way it develops, and the number of pages and so on, and I can just see it working very well.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
No, I do. Yeah, and I liked it because it had a spark of real originality about it. Mm-hmm. Some of the stories that we'd read we thought were slightly formulaic, and we were having a discussion about how one of the things we were really looking for was that spark of individuality about the stories, and we thought this had it. It had sort of surprises and a real sort of individual voice to it, so that sort of made it stand out for me.
And it had some great characters, and we thought it worked really well to be illustrated, and a lovely twist at the end.
Like a twist.
Brilliant. And why did you want to get involved in judging the competition in the first place? What drew you to it?
Well, I dragooned into it. I was forced at knife point to come in and do it. I've been involved with the Bookfest in various ways, in certain events, and am I a patron?
Yeah, you're
yes,
a patron.
I'm a patron. And as this also falls professionally into my sphere, I suppose, because I am a big cat author, I suppose it was a natural progression, but it's been a nice thing to do. What about you?
Well, for me, I mean, Polka Theatre's been involved with the Bookfest for a number of years now, and also actually with HarperCollins and the Big Cat initiative, so it's a good way of bringing those two things together.
I mean, it's very important in the festival that we get new and young talent writing, which is why we were really pleased to be doing the competition with Big Cat this year.
I think also, I mean, let's face it, the prize is amazing.
Yeah, get a book published.
Yeah, I mean,
primary school.
You know, come on, I'd like a prize like that.
Did you get a book
please.
published in primary school?
No, mind you, I mean, it is, of course, it's quite interesting these days. I was talking about this to somebody the other day, how with desktop publishing and all the rest of it, you can actually produce in a school a book that is that looks far more professional than we could have done when I was, I don't know, editing the school magazine or something, when you just had one of those machines where you rolled things off and you had funny liquidy stuff which gelled up, and then you, I don't know what it was called, but Roneo machine, one of those. It is easier, but the idea of having a book which is available to people to buy in a shop or online or something, and to be professionally illustrated, is.
Yeah.
And
I think it's also quite inspiring. I think it's quite inspiring to the other children as well who read it, because when I've seen other books in this series, something that really jumps out at me. If I were a child in primary school, the fact that these are books are written by their contemporaries, by other school children at primary schools like them, I think that's a really inspirational thing to get them writing. Which I think what's the competition is about, and what Bookfest is about. What
I think about. To get them writing, but also to get them reading in a funny way, because the whole idea of books being a good thing is enhanced by this, particularly in the case of the winner and the winner's classmates, whatever. But it's just this general idea of trying to show that books can be fun. I mean, this is something I bang on about all the time, the fact that books aren't boring. And you go into schools and quite honestly, there are children that are frightened of books. I mean, they see a book and they go, ah! Well, they don't necessarily do that, but you know that to them a book equals tests, boring, don't like, work, all that, which is tragic if they're feeling that at the age of 6, 7 or 8 or something. And if one can persuade them that in fact their books are fun and there are books which have got nothing to do necessarily with this awful thing called the test coming up, and also the fact that by preparing them in this way with books that are fun, which these books are, you're also hopefully getting them used to handling a book, to enjoying a book, which means that later on, when they perhaps are going to have to use books, whether in some sort of research way or to do more sort of hard things when they're older, and it's not, I don't think it's enough to say, oh, well, you know, they can find that stuff out on a computer, they can go online, find out. Yes, quite a lot of it they can, but there is nothing quite like finding something about knowing your way around a library, being able to use books. I mean, one of the things I always go on about is how wonderful Yellow Pages is. I mean, teachers get very surprised. I go into schools and start raving about this wonderful book's come out. Came around the other day called Yellow Pages. And it's got all this information in it. It's fantastic. And they all look at me as I'm raving mad. But it's true. And you've got to be able to use books in order to survive, to live. And I always say, you know, when I came to the school today, I'd never been to your school before, and I used a book to get here. And they look at me and I say, yes, I sat on it and it flew me all the way. No, I don't mean that. What do I mean? And they, eventually you get out of them that it's a book of maps, you see, or A to Z or something. And then you inevitably get the hand up, say, well, we've got a sat-nav. You know, and I say, well, I've got a sat-nav too, but I don't trust it. I was in Yorkshire the other day and I ended up in a field of sheep. You know, but one can play around and muck about with ideas like that. But the truth is that just the idea of enjoying having a book in your hand, and of course, obviously, you've got to be able to read to do that. So the literacy thing comes automatically. But these books, what I love about these books is that they're real books. They're not like some of the old-fashioned reading books that we used to have in the reading series, which, you know, and I remember my daughters coming home with a book, and your heart bled really at the fact that they'd got to read. You had to tick off another page, and we used to bribe them by giving them 2p a page, I think, just to force them to do it. But these are actually fun, and they're real books, and they're not just educational books. They are children's books, whatever you like to call them.
Children's books by children for other children.
Absolutely.